It's got your father-in-law. Willie's in the house. Hide your silverware.
Sherman Hemsley's last sitcom, Goode Behavior, is one of those shows that feels like it should have worked on paper. Instead, it became one of TV's most forgotten one-and-done experiments. The show premiered in 1996, right at the tail end of the golden era of black sitcoms. At the time, shows like Martin and Fresh Prince had proven that audiences wanted more representation, more comedy, and more culture on TV. Sherman Hemsley was already a living legend from The Jeffersons and Amen. He was still beloved, still recognized, and still able to carry a punchline. UPN thought pairing him with a younger, straighter-laced co-star could create generational comedy magic. They weren't wrong in theory, but the show never stuck. The premise was clever. Sherman played Willie Goode, a hustler and lifelong con man who just couldn't stay out of trouble. After getting out of prison, he was sentenced to house arrest in the home of his estranged son, Franklin Goode, played by Dorian Wilson. Franklin was a college professor, polished, professional, and trying to rise through the academic ranks. The comedy came from Willie bringing his streetwise, rule-bending ways into Franklin's structured life. The two clashed constantly as Franklin tried to keep his home respectable and his career intact. Add Franklin's wife Barbara, a TV news anchor trying to hold her family together, their teenage daughter Bianca, played by Bianca Lawson, and Chancellor Willoughby, the uptight college boss always breathing down Franklin's neck. And you had the recipe for classic sitcom conflict. This show really suffered because of when it hit the airwaves. UPN launched Goode Behavior in August 1996 as part of a Monday block of black sitcoms that included Malcolm and Eddie, In the House, Goode Behavior, and Sparks. But UPN was still a baby network struggling to find its identity. Monday night was already crowded with competition. It was hard enough to get people to flip away from Monday Night Football, let alone convince them to tune into a brand new network that many households didn't even get yet. The reviews didn't help. Variety criticized the pacing, saying the direction let scenes drag instead of letting the comedy pop. In sitcoms, timing is everything. If your jokes don't land tight, they fall flat. At the time, audiences were comparing everything to Martin and Fresh Prince, both shows with razor-sharp energy. Anything slower felt weak in comparison. To make matters worse, UPN kept shifting the time slot, bumping the show from 9 to 9:30. Viewers couldn't keep up. If your audience can't find you, your ratings drop. Ratings were the nail in the coffin. The show pulled in Nielsen numbers in the 1.9 to 2.6 range. In today's fragmented TV landscape, that might sound passable. In the 90s, it was bottom of the barrel. For a young network trying to survive, those numbers couldn't justify a second season. UPN was already leaning heavily on Moesha as its breakout hit. That meant Goode Behavior was never going to get the same push. By the time the first season wrapped in May 1997, the cancellation decision had already been made. What makes Goode Behavior worth remembering today is the guest stars. The show was stacked with cameos that look incredible in hindsight. Bryan Cranston showed up as a sleazy record exec years before Malcolm in the Middle or Breaking Bad. Wild Orchid, the girl group that included a young Fergie, performed on the show. Wendy Malick played a psychologist in one episode. Gabrielle Union made early appearances as Tracy Monahan. Persia White, who later starred in Girlfriends, also popped up. Janet Hubert played a doctor in a Valentine's Day episode. Countess Vaughn, fresh off Moesha, played in episodes too. Looking back, this was a secret breeding ground for future talent. Another layer is how Goode Behavior doubled as Sherman Hemsley's swan song. After The Jeffersons made him iconic as George Jefferson, and then Amen gave him another strong run, this was his final starring sitcom. While it didn't reach the same heights, it showed he still had the timing and charisma. The problem wasn't Sherman, it was the machine around him. UPN didn't have the stability, the marketing push, or the patience to let the show grow. If Goode Behavior had landed on NBC or CBS in the 80s, with Sherman at his peak, it might have been a different story. The legacy of the show is bittersweet. On one hand, it flopped. It only lasted one season, it had low ratings, and most casual viewers forgot about it. On the other hand, it gave us one last chance to see Sherman Hemsley headline. It launched careers for Gabrielle Union and Bianca Lawson. It offered an early glimpse of Bryan Cranston and Fergie. It represented UPN's early attempt to compete for the black sitcom audience, something the network later succeeded with through Moesha and Girlfriends. So, why did it fail? Timing, execution, ratings, and network instability. And why should we remember it? Because it's a piece of history. It was Sherman Hemsley's last ride. It's full of hidden gems and early career cameos. Even though the ratings said flop, it deserves more respect than it gets. Sometimes a show doesn't hit in the moment, but becomes a hidden gem later. Goode Behavior is exactly that. A forgotten late 90s sitcom that deserves its flowers, even if it only got one season to shine.